Greetings to you all. My name is Marian Tafadzwanyarwanga and I'm a law student based at Yebet Shitepo School of Law. With me here are my co-counsels, Advocate Rubin Zai Chagonda, Advocate Kudzai Nyamayevu, Advocate Muzomo Shlemtunzi, and Advocate Raymond Mushibe. The main reason why we are doing this presentation is to bring out the jurisprudential aspects based on the law of feminism. I now pass the microphone to my co-counsel, Advocate Muzo.
So I'm going to present on importance and aim of the jurisprudence on law and feminism. So the study of jurisprudence is not only limited to the development and evolution of law. The academics who study jurisprudence also make great contribution to the field of other social sciences like political and social fields. This leads to the overall development of society. So the study of jurisprudence also helps uncomplicate some of the concepts and complexities of the legal world. It makes them more manageable and rational and thus easier to understand. This can also lead to a more effective practice of law. Jurisprudence is the grammar of the law. It will help a lawyer the basic ideas and reasoning behind the written law. It helps them better understand the fundamentals of the law and help them figure out the actual rule of the law. The lawyer and judges can use jurisprudence as a guide to correctly interpret certain laws that require interpretation. The study of jurisprudence does not serve only academic purposes. It also helps lawyers and other practitioners in the practical world as well. Jurisprudence also sharpens the legal knowledge, and also it trains the mind to find alternative routes and channels of thought in some cases of difficulty. The law can mean more than one thing, and this exploration is a direct effect of the study of jurisprudence. So I'm going to give definition of what is feminism. Firstly, feminism, according to women and gender studies, it is an interdisciplinary approach to issues of equality and equity based on gender. Gender expression, gender identity, sex and sexuality as understood through social theories and political activism. Also, feminism, according to Merriam-Webster, it is a belief in and advocacy of the political, economic, and social inequality of the sexes, expressed especially through organized activity on behalf of women's rights and interests. So, I'm done with my part of the presentation. I'm going to give Ruben Zaichagula to present.
Okay, so feminism clearly shines a light on social problems, trends, and issues that are otherwise overlooked or misidentified by the historical dominant male perspectives within the social theory. I'm going to look at core arguments of feminism, of feminists. So feminists argue that women face inequalities into their day-to-day lives due to the fact that almost all modern societal structures are patriarchal in nature, and women's voices haven't been heard since time immemorial. So, in a bid to redress these inequalities that are being faced by women, feminists are looking towards a situation whereby the women's voice are to be heard in the political, social, economic, and social and cultural structures that pertain themselves. Feminists argue that the relations between men and women cannot be reduced to differences in biological functions. So they argue that women comprise half of the world's population through social progress. They argue that since women constitute about half of the world's population, social progress can never be achieved without the complete and spontaneous participation of women in the social, economic, and political spheres. Um, they also argue that there should be equal compensation of opportunities and treatment across all genders. Further, they also argue that the systems of oppression should be actively transformed so that women, men, and gender non-conforming people hold equal power and resources. Equal power, resources, and rights. I'll pass the baton stick to my co-presenter.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the forms of feminism. It can be noted that there are forms of feminism, so I came up with 3 different types of feminism. So, the forms of feminism include the radical theory, the liberal theory, and the Marxist theory, among others. Radical feminism, meaning, so I'm going to start with the radical feminism. Radical feminism, the meaning of it is that it is a feminist philosophy that seeks to dismantle traditional patriarchal power and gender roles. So the ideas are informed by the belief that the structure of society needs to be completely transformed. Patriarch, or the organization of a society in which men hold an equal power over women. So it is the main cause of oppression. This is what the radical feminists believe. The radical feminism seeks to stop male dominance in society because the radical feminists believe that the male dominance causes the suffering of women in terms of gender roles. Radical feminism came as a result of women feeling that they were being oppressed by men. So there's a woman, Kate Millett, who is considered to be the mother of radical feminism. As an author, artist, professor, and activist throughout her life, there's a woman, Kate Millett, who is considered to be the mother of radical feminism. As an author, artist, professor, and activist throughout her life, she defined goals and strategies of women's liberation movement. In it, she discusses the power that men hold over women in society. She argues that this oppression is socially constructed. Men's control in society is not inherently biological as they had claimed for decades. So she believes that it is not in men that they oppress women. It's not biological. It's something that was constructed by the society. So the radical feminists believe that it is the men in the society who give male the power to be dominant over women, and there are some women who actually believe that men are dominant not because it's biological, but the society. It can be noted that radical feminists like Kate Millett believed that men have too much control in the society, so they were fighting for the liberation of women. Radical feminists believe that the male dominance is caused by the society itself, and it became a systematic oppression, not because men are born like that, but because of gender roles offered by the society. So I'm now moving on to the liberal feminism. The liberal feminism claims that gender differences are not based in biology, and therefore that women and men are not that different. Their common humanity supersedes their procreative differentiation. If women and men are not different, then they should not be treated differently under the law. It argues that women should have the same rights as men and the same education and work opportunities. So this liberal feminism came as a result of women who were being oppressed through the education, work opportunities, and this therefore means that liberal feminists believe that gender differences between men and women are self-imposed. It can be also noted that the goal of liberal feminism is to put women power structure is just the same as men. Its goal is to make sure that there is equality between men and women. especially to give women equal access to positions that the patriarchal society dominated. So this means that the liberal feminists realized that the women were being oppressed by the patriarch, not because it's something biological in men that they are dominant, but because of the societal gender that the societal gender was that men got from the society itself, including women. Then lastly, I'm moving on to the last form of feminism, the Marxist theory. It can be noted that the Marxist theory criticizes family for being the root of oppression of women. It has been said that women are exploited by both patriarchy and capitalism. For example, Marxist feminists see a social class as being of equal importance. There's a scholar, Judith Loba, who explained that a woman who owned a means of production, she would be a member of the capitalist class, and your wages belong to the men. So this was unfair in the eyes of the Marxist feminists, because at home a woman wouldn't own anything. At the same time, she was under the capitalist. So this therefore shows that the Marxist theory of feminism aimed at redressing the source of gender inequality. I'm done with my presentation. I'll pass on to Maria.
Thank you, co-counsel. So basically, I'm going to be presenting on the jurisprudential aspect of feminism using Zimbabwean case laws. So I'll start by using the case law of Magaya versus Magaya. So in this case, a polygamist died intestate and was survived by the eldest female child from the first customary law marriage and the second male child, who happened to be from the second customary law marriage. So the community court, it declared the female child to be the heir. The High Court of Zimbabwe set aside this judgment and declared the second born, who happened to be the male child, to be the heir. So the eldest female child, she appealed to the Supreme Court, and the decision was that the male child was appointed to be the heir. So the reasoning behind this decision was that the court simply applied the constitution, which did not prohibit discrimination on the grounds of sexual gender, and also that the court followed Shona customs, which totally disregard the plight of women at any stage in determining inheritance, which is basically the nature of the African society. So looking at the jurisprudential aspect, we can see that women were regarded as perpetual minors because they were considered to be not able to look after the original family because of the commitments to the new family. So then, according to the radical feminist theory, it is mainly concerned with the violence against women. So in the radical feminists, using the jurisprudential aspect, they argued that property stripping from women, it constitutes violence against women, and also that the radical feminists, they blame the patriarchy for the entrenched violence against women in the society, citing that men have got total control over women and they have got the total domination over everything in the society. So then the radical feminists, they also argue that the case, in this case of Amagai, they argue that the case of the exploitative tendencies of men is the use of patriarchal tools such as culture, tradition and norms, which members of the given group are obliged to observe. So basically in Zimbabwe, the radical feminists, they claim that men use the social system and other methods of control to keep women oppressed, and that this constitutes the traditional social pathologies. I now move on to the constitutional case, which was decided in 2014 by the Concord. So in 2014, 9 women were charged under Section 81 of the Criminal Codification and Reform Act. So they challenged the constitutionality of Section 1 of the Criminal Code, which made it a criminal law offense for women to loiter in the streets soliciting for intimacy. So the law stipulated that solicitation must be specified that is the evidence of a proactive attempt to procure a client rather than based on the person's location and or his or her clothing. The person who was being solicited must be present in the court. So then what happened in this case? The Zimbabwean lawyers for human rights, they took the case to the Constitutional Court, arguing that the women who had been convicted of this offense, it was in total contradiction and it was violating section 49 of the Constitution and section 56, which states that everyone has got the right to liberty, everyone has got the right to liberty with and also that all persons are equal before the law, and that all persons have got the right to equal opportunity in political, economic and cultural spheres. So a court order was in favor of the sexual workers case, which was issued in June. So then the reasoning behind this judgment was that the law was discriminatory along gender lines, as only women were arrested for the offense. This ruling, it actually represented the issue of gender equality. They upholded that issue of gender equality, and also that the court's reasoning was that the law infringed the women's freedom of movement and assembly, as it restricted them from freely moving and associating with friends. And also the other issue which made the court to arrive at its decision was that the right to personal security, which is actually section 52 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, was actually violated. And although the Constitutional Court sparked more conversation in Zimbabwe around sexual work, it did not lead to any formal changes in legislation or decriminalization. So basically, when we are actually looking at the jurisprudential aspect, we are seeing that the issue of law and morality is actually involved. Prostitution in Zimbabwe is actually regarded as an immoral act in Zimbabwe. In the Zimbabwe, they are actually against the issue of prostitution, basing on the evidence that prostitution it spreads the diseases such as HIV and AIDS. It is actually a social immoral. The prostitutes are actually regarded as social outcasts in Zimbabwe. So then this shows that somehow when we are discussing this issue with the liberal feminists, they argue that law and morality is not even related, because it is clear that the law and morality are at an interplay, as it regards that law on prostitution and morality is directing the route which the law should take, in as much as there might be an outcry in regarding the abuse of women in prostitution and human rights. Any review of the law has to seriously consider the position of morality in our society. So the liberal feminists are arguing that law and morality have got nothing to do with the issue of prostitution, and everyone has got the liberal feminists, they argue that sexual liberation ensures that prostitutes earn a living, and that no one has got the right to govern someone's body. So basically the liberal feminists are somehow supporting prostitution, because they are basing on the provisions of section 56 of the Constitution, and also some provisions in the Constitution which enables women to have control over their body, because the prostitutes are trying to earn a living. So this is what I have basically. Thank you.
Alright, now I'm going to look at the critical side of feminism. From the presentations that have been delivered so far, we can note that there are certain positives and negatives. There are certain advantages that are associated with feminism from its advent. The first advantage or benefit of feminism as a lobby group was that it led to the impetus over the equality and emancipation of women. We can note that after the feminist movement gained ground, then there were certain organizations and lobby groups and other non-governmental organizations which came up with, which lobbied for the rights of women and rights of the girl child. Women were subjugated for a long period of time. Their rights were oppressed, but as a result of the feminists, then we saw that there was a new dispensation over the treatment of women, be it in economic, be it in social, be it in political structures in various countries across the whole world. We can also note that after the feminist movement, then various governments, especially in Africa, started to remove those cultures which were oppressive to the rights of women. In Zimbabwe, if we want to look at an appraisal of cases, we can note in the case of Katekwe versus Mchabayewa, then we move on to the case of Chiwa versus Mangwente, where it was noted after the passing on of the Legal Age of Majority Act that women have the same rights as men, and as such they must be accorded equal treatment at work, be it in the social strata, in the political strata, or be it in the religious strata. So this is a trend in the right direction, which gave birth as a result of the feminist movement. Then we can also note that after the feminist movement, then women were also accorded rights to education, and this led to women to follow their own careers rather than for them to be sole child bearers. In Zimbabwe, we've got notable and influential women so far. We have got Divine Jukula, who actually started O-level at in her 50s, and after that she went on to graduate with a degree, and she formed Securico, a well-known company. She's currently the CEO of Securico. Then we move on to other notable figures. We have got Chipom Tasa, who is the CEO of Net1. Then we also have got Joanna Mamumbe, who is currently the youngest legislator in Zimbabwe. So these are benefits which are associated with the feminist movement. Then after that, we can also note that there are certain negatives in this feminist movement. And the first negative effect is that the feminists are not at par. They cannot concur. Their movements are isolated and do not meet. We have got the radical feminists who believe that women are not and men are not different biologically, but yet we have got the theorists of difference feminism who actually believe that women and men are born different. As such, those differences must be noted and taken into account whenever the legislators are propagating the law. Then after that, we can also see that in terms of lobbying, the feminists went too far in blaming men for everything. Yet, if you look at it, some of these challenges are associated with both men and women. And if you look at the challenges that bedeviled Africa, you can note that some of them, they were colonially inherited and are not related to the masculinity that is associated with men. So that is the criticism of feminism. But as an overview, we can see that the feminist movement can be credited for its success in guaranteeing the liberties and freedoms of women as reflected by the new Constitution of Zimbabwe, Amendment number 20, 2013, which on its preamble and objectives, it actually seeks to address gender and equality as enshrined by we've got various sections. We've got section 78 of the Constitution, which actually says that every person who is 18 years and above has got the right to found a family. And it actually also says that no one can be forced to end up in a marriage without his or her consent. So this section actually addressed the issues pertaining to forced marriages, which were raised by the feminists. Then after that, we can also see that there are various sections which also support the objectives, aims and objectives of the Constitution. We have got section 80 of the Constitution, which actually says that any practice, any custom which infringes the rights of women is void to the extent of its inconsistence. So you will see that this section actually seeks to protect the rights of women as reflected by the feminists. So overall, we can see that the feminists' work is a step in the right direction, which must be supported. And to add on, if you want to look at it about 3 days ago, there's a case which was referred by to the Constitutional Court, which Mudzure supports case in which it was actually argued that women's rights must be protected, and as such, the age of sexual consent was raised from 16 to 18 years. So this must be celebrated as a landmark ruling which further enshrines and protect the rights of women as reflected by the feminist movement. So we have come to the end of our presentation. Hope you have enjoyed.